everyone, it's been a while. So, I haven't posted on YouTube for like a year and a half. I've been away from some while, but now I'm back, so let me introduce myself again. Hello, I'm Elena. I'm now 20 years old and I'm Greek and a chem student. So, what I do on this channel is I talk about books, basically. I have no professional knowledge on anything literature related. As I told you, I'm just a chem student with a passion for books and literature. So that's what we do here. What we're doing today is we're basically discussing some books. Specifically, I'm going to give you my completely unfiltered opinions on some of TikTok's favorite books. Also, I would like to add that there's going to be spoilers ahead, so disclaimer, if you haven't read those books, just click away, scroll, don't watch the video, skip to the next book, because I'm going to give a small summary and then I'm going to spoil things from the book. So, we're starting off this video strong with, of course, TikTok's favorite book, It Ends With Us. I don't own a copy of this book. I actually read this from my friend because I'm not buying a Colin Hoover book. I'm sorry. So, to give a quick summary of this book, for those of you who haven't read it, even though I guess you probably clicked this video because you've read it. So, this book follows a girl named Lily and how she tries to navigate her life after college. She has just moved in, she's trying to open her new flower shop, and she meets this guy named Ryle, which she slowly starts to fall in love with. But then her first love reappears and starts to challenge the relationship. A lot of you are going to be disappointed with what I'm about to say, but I really don't hate this book. Now stay with me. I know you expected me to roast this book a lot, but honestly, it's not that bad, and let me explain why. In terms of writing and structure of the book, it's bad. It is objectively a book for middle schoolers, or at least middle school level writing. I know that a lot of people like to read things that are light and easy to read, perhaps on the beach, or when they're busy and just want something to take their head off the important things. And that's what this book is about. That's what the writing of this book is about. It is an easy read that has a lot of depth. So, if that's what you're looking for, great. But I personally prefer more complex and better structured books. Now, in terms of plot, and a lot of people like to say that this book romanticizes abuse, which in my opinion doesn't. The whole point of the book gets misinterpreted. This book is exactly trying to raise awareness on domestic abuse. Some fans, on TikTok mostly, tend to romanticize this kind of abusive relationships because they like those bad boy tropes or they think it's hot to like violent men. So, what I think this book does very cleverly, it is to show how in reality we always like to blame the victim, and specifically the woman in a situation of domestic abuse, and we always say how, why didn't she leave? Why didn't she call the police? Why didn't she get a divorce? And this book shows us how it's not that easy and how all of us can fall victims sometimes. Because this book starts with how Lily sees Ryle through rose-colored glasses and everything is great. This guy is great and she falls in love. But over time, things start to build up and build up till it crumbles and their relationship turns abusive. So this book does that actually in a clever way, to show how each and every one of us can fall a victim to domestic abuse and how it is never the victim's fault and how we should never judge the situations without knowing the full story. So, it's not the book, it's not the plot, it's the fans. And to summarize my opinion, this book has objectively bad writing, but It is a great book to raise awareness on domestic abuse, on victims, and to give an insight on how those things happen. It's not a bad book. If I had to rate it, I would give it like a 3.5 out of 5 stars. So next on our list we have A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara. This is the Greek copy, by the way. That's why it looks like this. It's different. So hear me out. I love this book, but I wish I could set it on fire along with like every single other copy. So the plot of this book follows 4 college students. No, it doesn't. So this book follows the lives of 4 friends in New York City. They meet in college and we see their lives through adulthood. We have Willem, who's an actor, JB, who's an aspiring painter, Malcolm, who's an architect, and finally Jude, who's also the protagonist, he's a lawyer, and he is really mysterious. He doesn't like to talk about his past, and so we spent basically the entire book finding out about Jude's past and why he is the way he is. This book also explores the relationships between those men. Specifically, it is a book about friendship. Our main focus is Jude and Willem and how their relationship turns into a romantic one through the course of the book. Now, this book would have been a great book on male relationships, which is a really foreign concept to literature. This book brought it up, but they're going to sell this book to you as a sad gay love story. Their relationships could have stayed a friendship, and the book would have been 10 times better. But that's not the only problem with this book. This book has a huge list of trigger warnings. Every possible trigger warning you can think of, it's included in this book. It is there's a term for that, alright? And it's called torture porn. And that means that the writer is putting the protagonist through really, really traumatic scenarios throughout the course of the book, so we can feel bad about him and label this as a sad book, a sad gay book. So I cried during reading this book. That means it's good. Something bad happens to the protagonist every like 10 pages, to the point where it doesn't even feel realistic anymore. Now I know that the main argument for this book is that it is trying to raise awareness. It is trying to raise awareness on self-harm, on sexual assault, on mental health problems, on depression. But the problem is, this is exactly the reason why this book sells. It sells on the reactions it's getting from the readers, because it is very graphic, it's very violent, and it seeks for the readers' bad reactions to it. Alright, I personally am a person who reads gore without a problem. I seek disturbing books. I like to read about themes that are not comfortable, but there is a line you cannot cross, and that is the line between having something gory and violent and disturbing because you're trying to get a message through it, and there's the other side of the line where there's a lot of violence and gore because you only want to get a reaction out of the audience and because you sell on those reactions. So even though I think this book has incredible writing, for a person who mostly prefers to read classics like me and is not really impressed by modern book writing, this one is great. It's great in terms of structure, characters. It really does make you think that the characters are real people. You can really connect with them. You can feel what they're feeling. But there is this big but that is the main problem of this book. This book would have been great if it wasn't trying so hard to get a reaction out of the audience. So if I had to rate this book, I would again give it a 3 out of 5 stars, because even though the writing, the characters, the relationships between the characters, besides the romantic one that I already discussed, there is this problem with modern literature, which I have already discussed it on my TikTok. There is this genre of books which is basically could be described as the sad gay couple. This book is written by a straight woman and is mostly enjoyed by straight teenage girls, to the point where it seems like the gay couple is being fetishized. And that book unfortunately falls into that category. So there's some things that I just can't overlook, even though I love the writing and the structure of this book. So it's 3 out of 5 stars. Do I think this book is worth your time? Now, if you are able to handle that heavy concepts for that many pages, it's not that bad, but it is not great, as a lot of people like to paint. So, on the same thing of sad gay books, here we have The Song of Achilles. This book has been everywhere on TikTok for years now. So, if you didn't know, this book is a retelling of the Iliad. It is told from Patroclus' point of view, and it is about his relationship with Achilles. In this book, Achilles and Patroclus are in a romantic relationship. Now, as a Greek, this book is terrible. I'm sorry, but I was taught the Iliad in school and the characters are the exact opposite. This falls under the category of the sad gay couple, written by a straight woman, because for some reason teenage girls love that. I don't know. It has nothing to do with the original Iliad. The characters have nothing to do with the original characters. It is a bad retelling, honestly. It's a bad rip-off the Iliad. The writing is mediocre. It was enjoyable to read, I'm not going to lie. It was an easy read. Again, middle school level writing, which is not bad. Like, if you want a light-hearted story, it's alright. Again, 3 out of 5 stars, because it was enjoyable, even though it was really inaccurate. And the writing was also mediocre. Despite all of the inaccuracies though, I get why some of them were purposeful. This book is told from Patroclus' point of view. So he sees Achilles through rose-colored glasses and he's in love with him and everything is great. So he tries to justify his actions, which is actually one of the clever things this book did. It is written by the point of view of another character. So I cannot completely hate this book. I cannot say it is objectively bad, because it is not. If you haven't read the Iliad, and if you haven't been taught the Iliad in school, like us Greeks have to endure, it is not terrible. Like, it is also a good introduction to Greek mythology. It is not an accurate one, but I get why some people have been interested in Greek mythology because of this book. It's not completely inaccurate, it is not completely great, but it is not bad either. So, I'm going to give this 3 out of 5 stars. So, the next book is actually one of my favorites. If you know me from TikTok, you know I have posted a lot about this book. And it's none other than The Secret History by Donna Tartt. This is the Greek edition, by the way. It is completely different and also definitely a lot bigger. Now, this book is about a group of classic students who get involved in their classmates' murder. It is essentially a murder mystery with major dark academia vibes. The writing is great, the characters are great, and honestly, if you love insufferable characters with a lot of depth, you are going to love this. It has everything. Now, the main point of this book is to actually criticize the main characters. They are an elitist group of classic students. We see them through the eyes of the main protagonist, Richard, who is basically romanticizing the whole situation. These people are insufferable and bad, but Richard craves so badly to be part of their group, and he basically falls in love with this whole dark academia aesthetic and the mysterious air around them. And we as readers do too. And that's where a lot of people are misinterpreting this book. They romanticize it a lot, and they take this as a step-by-step guide on how to live themselves. You see, dark academia is not just about wearing tweeds and Oxford shoes and going to like fancy colleges and studying the classics when it's fall and the leaves are falling and you are aesthetically reading a book by the fire. Like, I get that the aesthetic is beautiful, but it's much more than the aesthetic. Dark academia is based around learning and knowledge and reading books. So a lot of people are missing that, and they're only focused on the aesthetic, falling exactly victims to what the book was trying to warn us about. So this book is great and I love it, and I'm honestly going to give it like 4.5 out of 5 stars. So for the last one we have Lapvona by Tessa Mosveg. Now, this book is not that popular on TikTok, but Tessa's other book, My Year of Rest and Relaxation, is. So even though this specific book is not that popular on TikTok, the writer is. So that's the one I've read. I haven't read My Year of Rest and Relaxation, so I'm going to give my honest opinion on this one. So, this book is set in a medieval village. In an imaginary medieval village where the main character is a boy named Marek, who's the son of the village shepherd. So this village is constantly challenged by natural disasters and thieves and the greedy governor of the village, until Marek gets somehow involved with him, and that's basically the whole story on how it challenges all the village's faith to God and the power imbalance Marek creates. So this book sounds great in theory. You have this mysterious setting, the medieval village, the weird town witch, the greedy governor, an evil priest, and all of those interesting characters, and you're like, how this book could go so terribly wrong? Well, this book has, again, a huge list of trigger warnings. This book is a trigger warning by itself. It's traumatizing, okay? There is gore and gore and gore again and again, in order to like scare you and create this mysterious atmosphere and to get, honestly, it's the same thing I said about A Little Life. It's just trying to get the reaction out of the audience. It wants us all this extreme gore and those disturbing scenes masked under the, well, I'm trying to get a message across. It is not working with the case of this book. This book would have been great if it wasn't straight up disgusting, because that's what it is. It is disgusting. It is not disturbing. It's not making me think deeply. It is just making me want to vomit, because honestly, it is just disgusting. Now, because the plot and the characters are kinda interesting, and I also like this medieval, like, dark and gloomy setting, it makes it somehow of an enjoyable read, but honestly, the feelings of disgust are not worth it. So I'm giving this 2 out of 5 stars. I'd like to give everyone a disclaimer. Those are 100% my opinions. So if I talk shit about your favorite book, or I say I love a book you hate, don't take it personally, okay? It is just my opinion, but feel free to comment and tell me your opinion. in the comments, of course. I love criticism, honestly. So that's it for today. Hope you enjoyed this video, and if you want more, you can also follow my TikTok. I go by the same name and I post the same type of content. Hope you have a lovely day, night, evening, whatever. Sending you lots of love.